Hi everyone, welcome back to the Novel Nomad and welcome to day 22 of our puzzle Vlogmas adventure together. So I got back in from Melbourne late last night. I'm still a little bit tired, so please excuse any fumbles or moments I make throughout this video. That is just very tired Kate on screen. But today's puzzle, as you can see, is a very cute little Christmas sweater, and I agree, it is the season to be reading. So that's going to be the puzzle for today. But I decided, instead of going something so closely with the theme, I thought what a better time to do a Melbourne book haul, because I have just unpacked my suitcase. They're right in front of me, ready to go into my lovely shelves. So why don't we go through them before they find their new home. No particular order of where I bought them. If I do recall where I bought them, I'll let you know. But let's just get straight into it. So starting off, I'm going to be starting off with all the graphic novels I bought. I went to a few different places to look at graphic novels. Minotaur Entertainment, Dimmicks Melbourne also has a really great selection, as well as All Star Comics, which was a complete outrageous success. That was such an amazing bookshop. So first off, let's go through a manga that I got on recommendation. So this one is called Boys Run the Riot by Keito Gaku, and this one is about a trans youth, a trans man, who basically wants to become a fashion designer, and it's just sounds incredibly cool. I was supposed to pick it up from the library, and unfortunately I just couldn't pick it up in time and my hold ran out, so it is now on its way back to another part of the city. So I decided I might as well pick up the first one while I was there and get to experience it straight away. Next are the books that I picked up at All Star Comics. Like I said, an amazing range of things. I actually got 3 of them from the discounted chests. It's very cute, cool. They're in like some old trunks, so it looks like you're rummaging through some treasure chests. And so these are the 3 that I got half price, which is very cool, especially for graphic novels. And this is The Hills of Estrella Roja, and it sounds really fun. It's a bit horror, spooky, paranormal. One girl goes off into the hills to discover the ghosts that are rumoured to be going on in there, and the other comes back to look after her grandmother, and they meet. So it is also a queer story as well, and so I'm very excited to read this one. It was, like I said, half price, and it's fully coloured artwork inside, so that is also very, very cool. So this was a great little find. Another one that I was eyeing off on the shelf, but then I managed to find it in the discounted bin, is Hans Vogel is Dead, Volume 1. And this is going to be quite interesting. It's basically based around Hans Vogel was a German fighter pilot during World War II, and his plane goes down over London during the Blitzkrieg. It's basically his ghost, and he gets to witness all the things that are going, that are the consequences of those raids. And so yeah, so it's by Sierra Barnes, and I was very, very curious about this one. Hilariously enough, I also bought another World War II graphic novel. Where is it? This one I'm really excited about. I've heard really good things. So Liebestrasse. It's basically these 2 men meet prior to World War II, and then obviously they go through the trials of one of them being Jewish in Nazi Germany. Not a great time. So yeah, so this one has got lots of awards, and I've heard lots of good things. So as soon as I saw it, I picked it up because I'm very excited. Another one I got on the half price section is Miss Adra. And this is basically semi-autobiographical. It's about the author's, Yasmin Omar Attar. It's about his experiences with epilepsy. And so it's done in a really cool way from what I could see. So like the daytime is yellow, and all those like kind of internal musings and thoughts is a much darker background. So it'll be really interesting. I do love when there's a wonderful representation of chronic health conditions, mental illness, anything like that, where that's reflected in art. It's just, and especially when the authors themselves have some really deep personal connection with their subject matter, it just comes out so beautifully on the page. So I'm very excited to explore this book. Last two ones, one I've been wanting to get for quite a while, and that is Young Men in Love. It's a queer romance anthology. I have a very good friend who reads a lot of graphic novels, and she was telling me how wonderful this one was, and I just cannot wait to read it. So I bought it instead. So yeah, I picked this one up. I was having an hour because I was wondering if I could borrow my friend's, but I knew I'd probably want to keep it anyway, so I might as well get it while I see it. So yeah, I picked up that one too. And the other one was such a random purchase because I saw it and I just loved the art style. And that is The Little Red Wolf by Amélie Fléché. And it's so beautiful. The artwork, I didn't realize on the cover because these were all wrapped, so you couldn't quite see, but it's basically following a young wolf in a red hood who is basically trying to look after his grandmother. And things just go wrong along the way. Like, just how sweet is this illustration style? But the detail of the illustration is beautiful. It is an all ages comic, and it's kind of like a twist on the fairy tale. But yeah, this was really, really fun to find. I didn't even realize there was an all ages section, and I went in and I'm like, oh no, I already have so many. Now, don't tempt me with more. But I did want to pick up this one because I've never seen it before, and the art was just so beautiful. Next is the only book I bought at Minotaur, and that was a Dino and Jones I haven't seen before and I wanted to add to my shelves, and that is Unexpected Magic in this kind of little chubby EOS edition. And yeah, I really love Dinah Wynne Jones's writing. I'm going to do, like I said, doing a reread of Howl's Moving Castle has just really inspired me to explore more of her works. And to be able to get a short stories collection, I think is really fun because you get to experience so much more that the writer has to offer. So yeah, I found this tiny little, like, little hovering toad version, and yeah, it'll be really fun to read this. I do love short stories. I'm kind of slowly gaining a greater and greater appreciation for them, and poetry. So yeah, this is a very good find. I do love short story collections of favorite authors just because it's just so lovely, like, to reconnect, but also to explore new avenues that they might be exploring as well. Next is technically a gift, but I had to go buy the gift because I was going to somewhere that actually had the gift in stock. So I bought the gift to me from my brother, and that is Wasteland. This is by Oliver Franklin Wallace, and it's the dirty truth about what we throw away, where it goes, and why it matters. So this is going to be a wonderful addition to my nature writing, ecological, eco non-fiction section. And it's actually also part of my book club's reads for the year. We pick our books for the entire year, the year before. And so this is going to be on the list. And so I'm very, very excited to have this one added to my collection, and also going to be reading it definitely this year. Another book club read that I picked up just because it was available and I could is The Wishing Game by Meg Schaefer. I think I've seen some traction on this on YouTube and also TikTok as well. So yeah, I'm very excited. I think it's like that kind of mystical, like a magical competition. I'm curious to see where this one goes. I've seen many mixed thoughts and feelings on this, so I'll be very curious about this one. And it's actually our first read, so this is what I'm going to be reading for book club in January, so hopefully it's good. Next was a complete cover by, but all the blurb and the little blurbs at the back by recommended authors did sell it to me, and that is The Lies of a Junjo by Moses Utomi. And it's just look at that cover, look at that detail. It's just stunning. It's a tour edition, so a beautiful little story, and it's very fantastical in its fairy tale elements. So basically this young boy's growing up in a city, in a place where, to prevent you from lying, they cut out your tongue, but that also prevents you from rebelling. So it's going to be interesting because obviously the lies are not what people say, but it's actually the lies that people were told. And so it's interesting how it's going to be broken down in this fairy tale aspect. So a nice little quick one that I picked up. It's really beautiful as well. And I do love when you get to have a little taster, because Tor is really good for that. Tor publications are really good to finding new sci-fi fiction, fantasy voices. Even if it's in this kind of fantastical element, they always do a really good introduction for debut authors. They always give them a really good platform in which to share their stories. Next is one I found at Golden Bowl Books, and that is a little secondhand bookshop in Coburg, quite right near to where I was staying, and it was a cute little bookshop. It probably wasn't my favorite secondhand bookshop that I found on the travel, but it was still very cute. And I did find this, I'm not sure if you can see it too well. It's called The House of Yusuf by Yuma Kasab. He wrote The Lovers, which has been hugely popular in Australia this year, and his new book is coming out in 2024. But this is actually, once again, his selection of short stories. It came out a little bit earlier. They're quite more in the way of vignettes, and they talk about the Lebanese immigrants and a diaspora in growing up in obviously a Western country, and also growing up in Australia, and they're like the children growing past from what the parents' expectations were, and all these different conflicts that happen within that community itself. So I'm very excited to find another short story collection and add it to my shelf. But yeah, I didn't know that he had a short story collection, and this was his debut publication. So it'll be interesting to see where he went to Lovers after this. Next is a book that I got in the Hill of Content, which has always been one of my favorite bookstores for their non-fiction, beautiful selection of reads. I always find something I've never seen before, and this was one of them. It's called The Social Lives of Animals and How Cooperation Conquered the Natural World by Ashley Ward. This sounds really interesting. It's basically looking about how cooperation and how symbiotic relationships were developed in nature to help sustain nature, and how organisms have survived because of these symbiotic relationships throughout history. And so it's basically trying to harken the fact that we shouldn't all just be purely islands and living on our own little sphere and game, that social interaction has actually been always excessively important in survival. So yeah, I'll be really interested to see where this goes. It's like I said, another little nice non-fiction to add to the shelf. But yeah, this was an interesting find. Let me know if you've read it before, because I know I've got some wonderful eco non-fiction readers watching this Vlogmas at the moment. So yeah, if you have read this, let me know if you've heard any good things. I would love to hear them too. Next is one I've been looking for a little while, and it's called Belonging by Amanda Thompson. This kind of caught my eye because it's talking about natural histories, but it's natural histories of place. So it's really human interaction with a place, with family, with a time, with an experience, and how that shapes our identity, how it really feels like a sense of home. And for the author itself, it's, harkening back to Scotland and certain locations in Scotland that feel like this most central key to her identity. So yeah, I've been eyeing this off for a little while, and it's finally in the smaller format, because Australia, we have the large paperbacks and a small paperback. So it's finally in the smaller paperback format, and I couldn't go past it. This was at the paperback bookshop. So yeah, this was an immediate purchase. The next one was also another paperback bookshop find. Amazing books at the paperback bookshop, because they usually have, not always paperbacks, they do have some hardcovers, but they do have a very interesting range of books that usually you can't get in elsewhere. They manage to order them in, like those publications from the British Library that are usually a little bit harder to get in. But this one my friend found when we were going over there, and that is Medusa's Daughters. So this is very much for the Victober readers out there. So this is basically looking at women writers who basically went back to Gothic writing in the late Victorian Edwardian period, and also going into the early 20th century, why women writers were writing in this landscape once again. Because obviously you had Gothic kind of came in at the end of the 1700s. You had the Mysteries of Udolpho by Anne Radcliffe. That became this huge Gothic read. And it's all of these like Gothic reads that were happening at the time. And obviously they did inspire some certain elements of genre in the Victorian period, but it really became almost a women's arena when it came to the late Edwardian, the late Victorian Edwardian period. And so the whole point of this book is by Theodora Gloss. So she kind of edits and brings all these stories together. So you do get to read the stories and it kind of get a little bit of context around it. But she was just exploring this idea that the movement at the time, women were exploring a Gothic because it was like entering an unknown. It was dealing with a monstrosity that they were combating in their everyday lives, in this kind of political space that they were trying to carve out for themselves. So it's going to be an interesting read. I think it was such a fascinating topic. And Theodora Gloss has written, I think it's The Alchemist's Daughter, I think. So she's written a few fantasy novels that kind of have this wonderful Gothic element to them anyway. So I feel like it's going to be an interesting collection for her to really explore into. The last book I purchased in Melbourne, and an absolute find because I have been looking for this one for a while. I purchased it at the Brunswick secondhand bookshop, which I have to say is quite possibly the most beautiful secondhand bookshop, I have ever been to. It is immaculate. The books are also incredibly good condition. It does state that they are curated, and you can tell that they have been wonderfully curated. There's not just like a random dumping of random paperbacks or really rough copies. This is a very thought out and very precise collection that this person has arranged in this bookshop, and it's just amazing. And what caught my eye was The Whale by Peter Hoare. I'm not sure. But it's The Whale, and it's called In Search of the Giants of the Sea. This is a hardback edition that came out in 2010, and that is very hard to find. So I got this for $20, 20 Australian dollars, this hardback. They covered it. It's in wonderful condition all the way through. There's no major marks on it at all. There's, hardly any wear to the paperback. This condition online is about $80. So yeah, I was just a little bit shocked. I honestly was chatting to my friend as we walked in. You walk up the stairs, and I just nearly pushed past the girl to get it because I was like walking past and I just saw it on the shelf, and it gravitated towards me. Honestly, it was just like such a perfect find. I was so excited to find it. But yeah, so this one is once again adding it to my ecology and non-fiction shelves, and this is going to be such a beautiful book to read. I just read Fathoms this year, which is definitely one of my favorites for the year. Not the bone deep favorites, but it definitely made me think about the media that we consume around conservation. It's very interesting. But yeah, so The Whale is more traditionally a book looking at the whales, looking at their history, looking at human interaction with them. Not as thinky and poetic as Fathoms, but that's fine. This is definitely something that I wanted to add to my shelves because I am very fascinated with these beautiful creatures. All right, so as you can tell, I had a wonderful book buying adventures in Melbourne. And I just honestly can't wait to go back, especially to Brunswick secondhand books. That was stunning, and I felt like I could have spent a few more hours there. I was feeling very tired, and it was after a long day of running around, and we stopped there on the way back to where we were staying. But yeah, so I really thoroughly enjoyed my time, and I can't wait to read any of these books. It's just going to be such a wonderful reading experience. But I think what I am going to do now is I'm going to do the puzzle, and then I'm going to have a cup of tea, probably at the same time as doing the puzzle, and just have an early night in. I think I need it. I think I'm feeling very sleepy, and I'm feeling very tired, but I'm very thankful that I have today off in which to recover before all the Christmas madness starts. So I hope you're having a wonderful day. I hope you're enjoying all the reading experiences that you're enjoying leading up to Christmas. And I hope you enjoy the puzzle. See you next time. Bye.